Okay, when you think about building your company's cybersecurity, where does your mind go first? Firewalls? Super complex passwords? Antivirus software? Well, it turns out most people start in completely the wrong place. They start building defenses without ever really understanding the ground they're building on. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on ISO 27001 and show you the real foundation for security that actually works. Let's dive in.
Right out of the gate, the standard itself gives us this massive clue. It says that adopting an Information Security Management System, or an ISMS, is a strategic decision. Now, an ISMS isn't just one tool, it's your whole playbook. The policies, the processes, the controls you use to manage security. And calling it strategic, well, that changes everything. It's telling us that security isn't just an IT problem you solve in a server room. No, it's a core business strategy, just as critical as your sales or finance departments.
So, if security is a big, strategic decision, where on earth do you begin? Well, like any great plan, you need a solid foundation. And in the world of ISO 27001, that foundation is laid out right here in Clause 4, Context of the Organization. This is square one.
This idea, it seems so simple, but it's actually really profound. Think of it like you're building a medieval fortress. You wouldn't just start stacking stones in a random field, would you? Of course not. First, you'd survey the land, you'd understand the terrain, you'd know exactly what treasures you're trying to protect, and you'd want to know who your enemies might be. It's the exact same logic for information security.
And Clause 4 gives us this beautiful logical roadmap. It's broken down into 4 key steps. You start by understanding your organization's context. Then you figure out who actually cares about your security, your stakeholders. From there, you determine your scope, basically the boundaries of your fortress. And only then, after all that, do you actually start building your security system. See how it works? Everything flows from that very first step, 4.1.
So for the rest of our time here, we're going to zero in on that crucial starting point. Let's do a real deep dive into Clause 4.1 and unpack what understanding the organization and its context actually means when the rubber hits the road.
And here it is, the official wording straight from the standard. The organization shall determine external and internal issues. Okay, so what does that mean in plain English? It just means you have to look in 2 directions. First, you look inside the walls of your own company. Then you look outside at the whole world your company operates in. What's going on inside and what's going on out there that could mess with your security?
And I really cannot stress this enough. Getting this step right is absolutely vital. If you skip this part, or just rush through it, every single security decision you make from here on out is just going to be pure guesswork. It's like building that fortress on a swamp. This first step is the bedrock that determines whether your entire security system will actually work or if it's just a house of cards waiting to fall over.
So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, internally, you've got to know your business objectives. Let's say your big strategy is rapid global expansion. That's a huge internal issue that brings a ton of new security challenges, right? And externally, think about your supply chain. How many of your vendors have access to your network? That's a massive external factor. Or what about market pressures? If your main competitor just got slammed by a ransomware attack, well, that's an external issue that should immediately make you rethink your own defenses. This isn't just about making a list, it's about connecting these real-world issues directly to your security.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, got it. I do the analysis, write up a report, check the box, and I'm done. Not so fast. The work you do in Clause 4.1 isn't a one-and-done kind of thing. It has this massive ripple effect that spreads across the entire security standard. You can think of what comes out of 4.1 as the DNA of your security system. It's the blueprint that dictates the shape, the size, and the function of everything else you build. It's not a dusty report that just sits on a shelf. It's a living guide for every single action you take next.
And you can see the connections right here. The standard explicitly links back to Clause 4.1 again and again. Your leadership team? They need your context analysis to make sure security lines up with the business strategy. Your scope? It's directly defined by the issues you found. Your entire risk assessment is built on them. And here's the kicker. Management is required to review these issues over time to make sure the system doesn't get stale. It's a continuous loop, you see, not a straight line.
So, let's bring this all home. What is the single most important lesson from the very beginning of the ISO 27001 standard? Well, it kind of echoes a piece of ancient wisdom.
The ultimate takeaway is this. Real, effective security isn't about buying the newest, shiniest technology. It's about a deep, strategic understanding of your organization.
Clause 4.1 forces us all to stop and think before we act. It makes sure our security measures aren't just generic, but are perfectly tailored to our company's unique internal world and all those external pressures. Context is the non-negotiable starting point for real security.
And that brings us to one last thought to leave you with. Your competitors are launching new things, new laws are being passed, and new cyber threats pop up literally every single day. The world inside and outside your company is always in motion. So the question is this: if your business context is that dynamic, shouldn't your security be too?